Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Carlos Leon from Spain. I flew in from Barcelona. I'm currently working at Mango for um, as a photography manager there. And so I'm really happy to be here because it's been actually a long time, I think 10 years since my last time in LA. West Coast is a really dear place to me. This is actually where I started, well, practicing photography, learning photography. Used to live in Portland, Oregon for a while. So, I actually, like some 16 years ago, something like that, I was spending a lot of time, closed up in the dark room and taking a lot of pictures. And that's really where everything started for me. So I'm very happy to be having this talk here today. I'm going to talk about the power of image in ecom. I think image is a great tool and a great asset for brands to communicate and to reach out to their clients on online platforms. So it's important for me to have that focus on image and how that's related to brands. So I want to have a discussion about what are the tools that brands are using to communicate, and the way that these brands are perceived based on their image, and also what are the ultimate keys for success for different brands in the current situation with what everything is going on in the industry. So first of all, I'm gonna talk about formats and platforms. As you're all aware, we're having more and more kinds of formats, more and more different types of platforms where the content is showcased. Of course, photography, had a huge boom with ecom, with the rise of ecom in the past, few years and decades, and it's still the main format for image production, still strong, reliable. But it is true that it's getting a little bit transformed of the way that is shot, that is worked, is going towards a more editorial style, more elevated style, for what I can see. Also in Europe, I think is a very strong outtake. Then there are other formats that have been going through this same evolution as photography. Here are some examples of some more editorial, elevated kind of ecom photography that we can find in some of the leading brands. The other, I think, second most important format that we have currently is video. Video has been around for many years, and I think it hasn't get as solid results as everybody was, I think, hoping for. I think there's a very big investment behind video, and in terms of image, it's also really challenging to get that branding direction and creative direction through video and photography. So what we can see is actually video really present as a format and a resource for campaigns, editorials, social media, advertising, different kinds of content, but not so much in PDP and PLPs like e-commerce pages as we would have thought some years ago. Still, some brands do manage to do this job really well in a very consistent way. Like in a nice concept, mixing with photography and maintaining that creative direction, which I think is one of the main challenges. Then we have all the different kinds of content generated imagery. So 3D, for example, is also a format that has been growing a lot, but as well, in my opinion, it hasn't been so present. It's not so present in PDPs and websites as we would have thought it would, or at least I thought it would be. But instead, it's really used for more conceptual kind of content, more creative. It's a bit more abstract. It's more idealistic. So it's widely used, for example, in social media to create this kind of, different, ideal setups and, different messaging. And we see it a lot as well in newsletters, but it's not so much, part of the product. It is used as, product design and other kinds of different kinds of uses in the different brands, but not so much out there for the client to purchase, right? However, in homeware, it's something I think is the line where we really see the higher presence of 3D. I think is getting a lot of momentum in this kind of field. It helps a lot to reduce costs. Is way easier to just create those spaces. It's still getting there to the highest level of details, but I think this is where we really see it going more and more and in the current times. Then augmented reality, you also heard of it. I think it's also a really nice way for brands to catch the attention and the eye of the clients. So mainly doing creative, conceptual, kind of impossible, results, and showing them in social media, in also newsletters. They want them, to go viral. They want them to get a lot of visibility. But again, it's not so present in websites for fashion brands. So you can see them in a lot of tech brands, like I don't know, like Amazon or Apple. You can actually showcase your products before you buy them. I think this is really great. But we still don't have that so much in fashion yet. Then of course, the big winner nowadays, everybody's talking about is AI, and how everything is kind of concentrating into AI, photo, video, design, all the different kinds of works. Here are some examples of some campaigns that have been done with AI, really really high concepts, really different kind of ideas that otherwise would be very hard or impossible to get. So I really think, as we were talking already yesterday, and in the next presentation, and maybe we'll also share a bit more about AI, is really the future, or a part of the future of how things are going to be produced. How are we going to think of creative shoots and creative ideas, and it's a great tool for us to embrace and really adapt to it, right? Then we have UGC and user generated content. It's also a resource that it's not so present as well as some companies were trying to have it in the past. Still, we do see it. I think the big challenge here is really to get these kind of results from the clients, from different people showcasing their products in a way that it makes sense with the brand identity, right? So I think this is really the hardest thing to do. And as a solution for this, we actually see many brands connecting their Instagram accounts with a few filters of the images to their websites, but it's not as popular or broad as we would have seen a few years back. We actually will see some other ideas about this format in later on the presentation. And why the reason why I go through all of these formats that you already all know is because I wanted to bring here open here a conversation about what is done in Europe and what is done in North America. So how do brands use all of those formats, which are the ways for them to communicate, the ways for them to reach out? How are they used? Where are they used? Which platforms, which timings, and really what are the formulas for brands to do this? So actually, I would like to know your opinion here before I continue. You can actually see there's some question here in this Slido, so you can please give some answers if you'd like. I would really love to know your input here. Anyone wants to share? What would you see for what are the main differences between Europe and North America in terms of imagery? So Europe, I see here, Europe is more natural and elevated. Okay, size inclusivity. I'm curious. I mean, I think have an idea, but I'm curious to see which continent. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, nice. I think, yeah, I agree. More daring artistically, is that more Europe, more America? Europe, okay. So overall, I think we see Europe is a little, the impression. What happened? Is more catalog. Okay, America's more catalog. US seems more serious. Okay, that's funny. That's a good take. Yeah. Making art versus utility. Wow, these are great, guys. Thank you. Yeah. Well, actually, this is a little bit, the conversation that I wanted to start. I think is a really good point to, be able to compare the different markets, and so I'll just jump in on the next slide. I put here some examples together of different websites, different works of different brands, both in US and both in Europe. And we can see here, for example, this is a European brand. It's way more graphic, is editorial, as you were saying. Is really elevated. There's a big focus on product. Um, there is a natural approach as well to product and how it's showcased. I think it's important to really create that impact, to create that moment of appealing imagery for the client to be inspired. I think someone was mentioning it before, and I completely agree. Brands in Europe mainly look forward to inspire, and I think that's really one of the secrets where brands can get deeper into the customer, and create that conversation and that relationship with them, whereas if you only focus on product and more descriptive content, you might sell, but you might lose that client. They might go somewhere else doing the same thing. So I think this is a really important aspect. The acting is also way different, I would say, in Europe and in the US. Acting is graphic, is editorial, is really effortless. We see, feminine, confident women, natural, strong, but it's simple. It doesn't look artificial. I think that's very important. Knowing that, of course, e-commerce is a lot of it is shot in white background, artificial environment. So the most natural you can make it, and the most elevated you can make it towards the product, I think it's is really going to pay off to the brand. Here are some examples of US brands, for example, where you see the acting is completely different. It's a little bit more posed, is more commercial, still kind of graphic, but it's less natural than what we could see before. I see less confidence. Here, some descriptive, more uncontrolled, artificial kind of, acting and pictures. And I think anyway is a way of development. Many brands were doing this in the past, and yeah, we still find this nowadays. In terms of video, for example, we have the same comparison, really. European brands doing video, the ones that are doing it, they're trying to make it aspirational. They're trying to make it conceptual, really fashionable. Whereas in the US, when we see video on PDP and PAPs, is really descriptive. It's about just showing the product and kind of trying to make the sale, and it's it gets a little bit on that direction. Talking about, for example, web design. European brands that are really focusing that much on image are really showcasing their products and their imagery in really great websites nowadays. They're created in a way that this is a landing page for a European brand. They create it in a way that looks like a magazine. It looks like a book. You really want to just keep scrolling and go through. You don't get tired of it. You're just focusing on the images and on the product. So it can become really aspirational. You don't really get that much details, but then you have suddenly some product details there. So I think this is really an important outtake. Then when you go to PDP, or you go to the overview of the products, is also more lookbook, is more elevated. It looks more expensive. It looks more fashionable. And I think this is really important. How clean it is. There's no distractions. You're really focusing on the image, on the acting, on the model, the product, and really getting that composition beautifully, right? That to get that composition is really important. We also see it in this slide. It's just a blank page where you can really compose visually what is best for the collection, what is best for the product, and even the casting, right? So some examples in the US, I would say, you get more details about descriptions, you get more details about colors, about you get more text. There is more details about sales going on. It's more about getting some deals, more informative. So overall, it's a bit more commercial. We also see that. Sorry. We also see that the mood is a bit more artificial, even though there's an elevated side to this imagery. It's still a little bit more artificial with the whole setup, how it is retouched and everything. So I think, as you were saying, I'm very happy that you all kind of agreed with the differences. Yeah, I would say that mainly Europe is more editorial, more elevated, more natural, and US is still a bit more commercial. So just for information, these are the brands that I consulted or I researched for the presentation. So there's half and half, brands from Europe and brands from the US. I would say that in the US, I think I've seen Banana Republic and J. Crew doing great work in terms of images. And in Spain, Zara and Mango, I think, are also Massimo Dutti are doing really good work in this sense. And then it takes me to the third point. So how do we make this happen, right? I think it's all about being flexible, so having flexibility, maintaining a balance, and adding on innovation to the formula. So flexibility, we need to remain flexible to everything that's going on. We're all developing very fast. We're having all these new technologies. We all have to be very, very aware of all the geopolitics going on that are affect the products arrivals, and everything that really touches point to the product and how it's produced and the timings. And in such a hurry, right, that we're all in, we need to maintain that balance. So we need to make sure that everything that we produce, it's kind of making sense in terms of brand, in terms of creative direction, and that direction is really followed throughout the different platforms that the brands are on. And then innovation, of course, what we were talking about before, all the different formats, being able to control them, being able to, get creative with them, and, showcase and surprise the customers with all of that power. Here, I will show you some examples of, some solutions of a different few brands they use to elevate the products. Here you can see, there is only one or two pictures with model, so they're really showcasing the product and the casting in the best possible way. So it's really sessions that are done especially for that kind of product, so that product really will stand out the most. And then you reduce the number of images, but then you make them more impactful, more powerful, and then you support them with still life. In the end, you're giving all the information to the client, but you're also inspiring them, and you don't get that sense of overdoing or overgiving, which we all really like to consume really fastly on our phones, and we don't have the time. So we want something quick and effective, right? This is actually an example for UGC that I was talking about before. Some brands are doing, instead of having customers taking the pictures of the products, they're having influencers taking really natural shots, really informal shots with an iPhone in a natural setting, but they showcase it fully on their website, like if it was an editorial. So it's kind of a mix, and then you can see as well on the web design, how the focus remains on the image. It's only about image. It's like a big portfolio. It's all visual, and it really catches your eye. You really want to go in and every product is shot in the best possible way for that product. So you see all the different setups, all the different locations, and I think this is really powerful. Important is to maintain that, as I was saying, with the balance, to maintain that through all the different platforms. So in this case, Zara does a really good job using the same imagery for both the website and social media. Whereas, for example, Ralph Lauren in this case, has really good imagery, but I've seen, that I found that through different parts of their content, it really changes. So these two are examples of the same landing page. And then when you go to the PLP, for example, it has nothing to do. It really seems like a different brand, like the acting, the way it's showcased, the way, the light is done. And, I kind of lost track of what brand I was on that day, because, it didn't really make sense with the other example. So that consistency is really important. We also see it in J.Crew. I think, there is this, quite nice landing page. Then if you go to PLP, you get all of these details, all of these colors, these options, and you really get lost with so many things. But then on Instagram, for example, they do an amazing work. They're doing all the more editorial, more creative imagery, more elevated, and that's, it's great because they're using Instagram as like kind of their window out to the world. But when you have the experience of buying online, you don't really get that feeling. So I think for me, it needs to be connected throughout all the channels. And just as a recap, now that I'm actually running out of time, just wanted to give the importance to the image, the power of the image, and how it is showcased. We need to be flexible, we need to be coherent, and we need to be innovative. Be super adaptable. And then this editorial versus commercial in Europe and the North American markets. And the trend really shows that we're going towards natural, fewer but more inspiring kind of work. So I hope that this was helpful, and I'll be happy to listen to any questions that you may have.
All right, everybody. All right, everybody. So scan this in and go ahead and start asking some questions. I know there has to be some after this. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. First one's in. Is influencer-generated content paid and the UGC the same, in your opinion, in terms of impact on the customer?
I think that's a great question. It's something that I would actually ask all of you, because I think, in the different markets, it would be different. And as customers, I think it really depends. In my opinion, I wouldn't say it's the same, but it does give that kind of, get that kind of balance between the natural, more personal kind of imagery and having that input on creative, on the creative direction. So you're maintaining the creative direction, and I think that's really important. But yeah, I will be actually happy to also know your opinion on this later on, because I think it's an open conversation, really.
And then, so how many folks out here are using user-generated for their strategy right now? Okay. Cool. Next one. What is the biggest barrier to video finally becoming the PDP standard?
Well, I think it's a mix of different things. There is, of course, for some companies it might be budget. For some companies it might be the website. It really depends on how your website is built. If it can really take video on the level that you want to produce it. I think we were actually talking about this yesterday in one of the workshops. How they were asking if it was challenging with creative teams for brands to maintain the creative direction. If you get freelancers, you get in-house people working. I think with video is just another extra layer of making it hard and complicated, because you is another language. You need to decide on if you're going for the same lighting, if you're the acting needs to be really also on point. Then so casting then also changes, because a model that might be great for pictures might not be great for video. So there's a lot of factors, and in the end it's a format that takes up a lot of time and a lot of resources. And the outcome of profitability and for the customer hasn't been proved to be like that profitable so far. So I think this is what, this mix of things is why, not so many companies are still are doing this.
Okay. Um, I'm curious about the your answer to this. Do you think companies with both EU and US market shares should match the style of their markets or maintain a cohesive look in both markets?
That's a great question. And actually, based on your answers to the question too, I think I would always say a brand needs to be a brand, and it should have one identity. It's like a person, right? And in that sense, it should be. And it should behave and show itself in the same way in different markets, in different areas. Of course, you can, make little adjustments with language, with different solutions. But if you change the brand, yeah, you are adapting it to the market, but then you're losing that identity. And I think that's one of the biggest problems for brands to work on. So I wouldn't really change it. But that's my opinion.
Yeah. This one about budget is something I wanted to ask you. I'm curious about budget for big brand photography in U.S. versus Europe. America is not welcoming to big ones, assuming budgets. What's your take?
Well, actually, that is a question that I would ask you. I'm the one coming from Europe, so I'm not that familiar with budgets in the US in terms of creative work. But I definitely budget has a lot to do with the quality. I mean that's obvious. But that's also why I was talking about different solutions, maybe reducing the number of assets and making them stronger. So brands are really trying to find those ways to work around limitations like budget. So I'm not, for what you say, I guess it's not so common here to have huge budgets for imagery, but at the same time, I see, Banana Republic, for example, I've seen really great work from them, J. Crew as well, Ralph Lauren. So I guess some of them are doing it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a trend that is going to develop, and more they're going to realize that I think this is the way.
Yeah, no, totally. What are the key elements in an image that defines consistency across platforms? Example, lighting, styling, etc.
I mean, I think it's everything really. I think it's the lighting. Maybe it doesn't have to be the same lighting, but it should have the same character, the same direction, the same feel. The mood, also the styling and the acting is crucial. How, are you styling it like really simple and plain, or are you really adding on, accessories or layers or making it interesting, composing a picture. I mean, it's so many different things. Casting is essential for me. I think it's one of the main points where if you have great casting, then you easily have really elevated pictures. I think it's a huge mix. And there's retouching, there's the crops, how it's also showcased on the web or on the like social platforms. So it's really a really wide mix of things.
Cool. And this actually, you and I had a conversation last night along these lines. We were discussing Zara. But the questions at Mango, how do you balance pushing creative boundaries with meeting high volume demands? And how does this intersect with image approvals? Do all the images need to be approved by a creative director exec?
I think, regardless of the brand, I think, this is all about really creating that line of like that identity and make sure that all the teams have it really clear. It's an exercise that is going to have you and the creative teams work around many references and many really broad vision, and kind of making it small and concise, and really go to the details on how to shoot that and kind of reproduce that. So in the end, you want to have only a few aspects that are core to your image, and really work on those, because otherwise it's really easy to kind of get lost and start mixing up things, and then when you go on the website, it's just a very big mix of things. So I would say that's the main point, regardless of you having a creative director or not signing up for it. In some companies there is this figure. In some others, the teams are really independent. They're trained for that, and they're independent to make the right call with the pictures they're shot and how they're shot.
They've been provided a vision
Yeah.
to follow.
Yeah, they kind of
follow.
yeah.
Do you think the American consumer will find a European style as aspirational? How do we find a balance so we don't alienate a consumer base that's used to a certain style?
Okay, let me read that again.
Well, let's take the first part. Do you think that an American consumer will find a European style aspirational?
Actually, that was another question I had for you guys that I wanted to. For what I've seen, and I would believe that yes. Also, the feedback that I always get from American customers or friends, people in the industry, I would say yes. But actually, it's something that I wanted to also get from this, from this conversation with you, because in the end, I see that brands keep doing that, more commercial work, more, that kind of acting, that kind of, So, is it because people prefer it that way? Is it because there's still not that like bet on imagery, on like elevated imagery? I would say yes. I think it's a global thing. It's not like so much concentrated on markets, but definitely each country and each market have their own habits and consumption habits, and for some of them it's more important to have a great image. In Spain, everybody's looking for that, but in Germany, for example, not that much, but they still look to Spain or France or other countries as reference. I would say yes, but I would like to also know your opinion, really.
That's it for us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hey, everyone, give
Thank you.
Carlos a round of applause. Thanks, buddy.